Alright, good evening everybody, and my name is Benjamin, and I want to talk a little bit about my model and kind of show a difference that I've been looking at that's kind of interesting, at least recently, and that's the difference between the pure polling average and what my forecast is showing. So this is what the forecast is showing, and the margins are tilt, which is up to 5%, and that goes in both directions. So this would be less than 5%. This would be less than 5%, right? Lean, which is at 5 to 10%, so like South Carolina, Nevada, right? Likely is anything in the 10 to 15%, and then safe is anything greater than 15, right? And what the pure polling average looks like is slightly different. So what I think is happening is that we haven't had a lot of high quality polling out of quite a few states. We have had some polling out of Montana, which is actually surprisingly lining up very similarly to Trump's approval rating. But my model ascribes a slightly higher chance due to Montana's historical partisanship towards the GOP. And the same thing, there's a slightly, because I've done my partisanship in a certain way and weighted that in a certain manner, it actually flips Iowa. Interestingly enough, my model, while bearish towards Biden in this part of the country, generally speaking, the polls, again, be very aware this is just pure polling average. My model is actually very bullish towards Trump in this general area, but is very bullish on Biden down here. Another key interesting thing is we had one poll out of Delaware other than approval rating, and Trump's approval rating has always been surprisingly high in Delaware. And for a while, I was using approval rating as a means of calibrating my model, basically. And now that we've got high quality polling for most of the battleground states, a lot of the battleground states are starting to shape up very similar to what my model is actually saying. So the margins are very similar, just in some states a slightly higher percentage is assigned to both candidates. For example, Florida being a good example of that. Actually, Florida's is very close to what the polling average is showing. That said, like I said, my model is pretty bullish on Trump in a lot of areas. It's slightly bullish on Biden in the Southeast, interestingly enough. Which is, I think it's an indication that my model is actually calibrated correctly, because I think the conventional wisdom is Democrats are making gains in the Southwest, this general area, and the Sun Belt over in this general area. At least in some of the some states, whereas Republicans are making gains up here in the Rust Belt and some of these rural states, right? Mm-hmm. We'll see whether or not that pattern holds. This week we did get some. We've been getting some interesting data. There's one poll recently that was released earlier today from Monmouth that showed Biden down by 4 in Florida. Now, if Trump actually does carry Florida by 4 points, I'm going to be interested to see what the national margin is. Because in 2016, Trump won by about 2 points, a little bit less than that, like 1.5% in Florida, whereas Clinton won by about 1.5% nationally, making Florida about 3% redder than the nation as a whole. And if that if that margin is hit where Florida is still about 3% more red than the nation as a whole, and Trump wins it by 4, that would mean about a 1% popular vote margin for Trump, which we're talking about domination in the Electoral College at that point. Maybe not, but I could see quite a few states flipping at 1% in favor of Donald Trump in the popular vote. But the other thing is we haven't had a lot of polling out of quite a few states. So some of the polls only stuff is going to look really weird. For example, South Dakota, Kansas, Missouri, Indiana, for example, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi. Mississippi not so much, but Arkansas and Louisiana for sure. There was a really weird poll that was released from some group. I think it was like the Tyson group or something like that, where they polled Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, Texas, and Arkansas. And the results were just completely bizarre, and to the point where I didn't want to include it, but I decided to anyway, because they had Trump winning Alabama by 4 and only down by 2 in Florida. So yeah, that's not good. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and end it here. Just wanted to show you something interesting that I was looking at, and you can see quite a few patterns. So anyway, I want to thank everybody for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. See you next time. Take it easy. Have a nice day, and remember, likes, comments, subscriptions. They always do help. I greatly appreciate them. Link to my presidential election model in the description, as well as a link to my Patreon. If you have anybody who might like this channel, go ahead and share. Why not? Anyway, take it easy, y'all. Bye-bye.